Chosen one, you don't walk into a room, you arrive. Not with noise or fanfare, not with intention to disrupt, but with an undeniable force that wraps around the senses before words even begin. Your presence is not something you put on like clothing. It's something that flows from within. A frequency so natural and steady that it shifts the air when you enter. You don't perform for attention. You don't raise your voice or occupy space with ego. And yet, all eyes turn. Conversations slow. Nervous laughter pauses. Why? Because your presence demands awareness, not through effort, but through essence. Women feel this pull before they even understand it. It's not your height or features or clothing. It's not even the way you carry yourself. It's the energy that carries you. This is not about appearance. This is about vibration. And your vibration, chosen one, is thick with intensity and calm at once. It carries hunger that doesn't chase, desire that doesn't beg, confidence that doesn't boast. It is the aura of someone who knows exactly who he is and doesn't need to prove it. Your high sexual energy is not loud, but it is dense. It hums beneath the surface like a melody only the body can hear. It moves ahead of your words, fills your silences, and lingers in the moments between glances. This is what makes you addictive, because your presence doesn't offer an escape, it offers an experience. It doesn't say, "Look at me." It whispers, "Feel this." And women do, deeply, unintentionally, irresistibly. You no longer move with the world's rhythm, you move with your own. That rhythm is slower, deeper, more intentional. It's the rhythm of a man who is not here to impress but to embody. A man who knows that the moment he steps into alignment with himself, everything and everyone else begins to adjust around him. Your stillness unsettles the shallow. Your peace triggers the restless. But for the awakened ones, for the ones who are ready, your presence is a sanctuary, a mystery, a need. You don't speak with urgency. You don't overcompensate. You don't fidget. You rest. And in that rest, there is power. You hold space, and in that space women feel themselves begin to soften, not because you force it, but because your energy invites it. Your presence feels like gravity, invisible, constant, and unshakable. It isn't something they understand, it's something they surrender to. You have become the kind of man who doesn't need to pursue to be pursued, the kind who doesn't rush intimacy because your energy already feels like closeness, the kind who doesn't talk about attraction because your presence is attraction. You are not addictive because you seek to be. You are addictive because you are anchored, and that anchoring pulls everything around you into its orbit. This is the beginning of your magnetism. Chosen one. You've stopped being noise in a loud world. You've become the quiet tension everyone feels but no one can ignore. There are men whose presence is felt only when they speak. And then there is you, chosen one, the one whose energy lingers long after you're gone. You do not just pass through conversations. You do not leave behind words or gestures. You leave behind imprints, sensations, a pull in the chest, a tingle beneath the skin, a feeling that something important just brushed past them, and now everything feels slightly more awake. Your high sexual energy is not a weapon, but it is powerful. You do not use it to manipulate. You simply contain it so well that its release is remembered. You've mastered the art of allowing your energy to touch without touching. Your presence clings to the air like heat after fire, and women feel it in ways they cannot describe. Your absence feels like a silence too loud, like breath held too long, like a pulse that won't slow down. This is not about seduction through technique. This is about frequency. You've become a living, breathing frequency of grounded sensuality. Your aura brushes past their skin even when you haven't spoken a word. It lingers in their minds like a scent they can't name but keep craving. You do not need physical contact to be remembered. Your energy makes them feel something, and the body never forgets how it felt. You have become unforgettable, not by performing but by existing fully. You are not giving fragments of attention or diluted versions of yourself. When you're present, you're all there, focused, alive, awake. That level of presence wraps around the nervous system of whoever you're near and leaves behind a coded message. This moment mattered. And because most people don't get that kind of presence, especially not from men, it becomes addictive. Women are not used to being seen without being hunted. Not used to being felt without being invaded. Not used to being desired without being consumed. But with you, they feel safe and stirred. relaxed and alert. Your energy says, I could, but I don't need to. I want, but I'm not chasing. I feel, but I'm in command. That balance of fire and discipline, hunger and patience is what imprints onto their skin. And no one forgets how that feels. You could speak or stay silent. You could touch or simply stand close. Either way, the mark is made. It's not possessive. It's not controlling. It's an energetic signature that whispers to their body, you just met someone different, someone rare, someone unforgettable. And long after you're gone, their body replays the sensation, like a favorite line in a song, a line they didn't know they needed until they heard it. You are not addictive because you demand attention. You are addictive because you give feeling, depth, presence, power, wrapped in peace. You are the man who doesn't have to try to be remembered. You simply walk through a room and let your energy speak, and when it does, it writes itself into their senses, their breath, their bones. That is your gift now, chosen one. Your energy stays on their skin, in their memory, beneath their silence, and the more grounded you become, the longer it lasts. Chosen one, what you carry within is no longer seeking direction. It has found home in your chest. You don't walk fast to be noticed. You don't talk loud to be respected. You don't maneuver for attention. Because your confidence doesn't need to hunt. It already is. You're no longer reaching for approval in women's eyes, no longer building your value on their response to you. You know who you are, and that knowing radiates louder than performance ever could. This is what makes you so addictive. The absence of pursuit is not coldness. It's a deep and powerful warmth that doesn't burn itself trying to keep others interested. You're not desperate to be chosen. You are not here to audition. You are the presence, the anchor, the gravitational field. And it is your restraint, your composure, your unbothered clarity that creates the strongest pull. Confidence used to be something you tried to project. You adjusted your words, your posture, your timing. You thought it lived in charisma or cleverness. But then you learned. You learned that real confidence is not about what you show, it's about what you withhold. You learned how to be silent in a world addicted to noise. You learned how to hold eye contact not with intensity, but with calm truth. You stopped asking how to be liked and started becoming the kind of man who is felt. And now, without lifting a finger, without a single seductive word, you draw people in. You are not mysterious because you're avoiding connection. You are mysterious because you're not offering yourself cheaply. You are seen because you don't need to be. You are noticed because you are at peace with being alone. Women sense this immediately. Your calm becomes contrast. Your presence becomes a doorway. They feel the internal spaciousness you walk with, and it stirs something in them that's rarely touched. Curiosity without pressure. You do not pull at them. You remind them of something lost, the steadiness, the certainty, the nonverbal declaration that says, I want nothing from you, but I see you. You are now confident without chase because you've mastered your own energy. Your high sexual energy no longer controls your behavior. It deepens your stillness. It's not scattered. It's not impulsive. It's refined. Your desire is clean, not clingy. Powerful, not needy. It's felt without being pushed. And that, chosen one, is what makes you so addictive. You give no signals of desperation, yet they feel your intensity. You are fully present, yet make no attempt to possess. You speak with precision, and they hear your value without you declaring it. That's the magnetism. That's the signature of a man who has learned to own his breath, to wait, to trust, to move without performing. When others rush to impress, you observe. When others try to dominate conversation, you listen. When others lean in for attention, you remain still. And in that stillness is an authority that women do not encounter often. You are not trying to be different. You are simply not diluting yourself to be accessible. You no longer rush to initiate. You allow attraction to arrive at your feet like a tide, not because you're passive, but because you're anchored. And when a man is anchored, he becomes the safest storm the world has ever known. That is the power you carry now, and that is why the ones who meet you return. Not because you tried to make them stay, but because your absence reveals just how rare your confidence truly is. Chosen one, your voice is no longer just sound. It is an atmosphere. It does not just carry words, it carries frequency. Women are not drawn to what you say nearly as much as they are drawn to how your voice feels inside their body. And now that feeling is unforgettable. You've slowed your cadence. You've deepened your presence. You no longer speak to fill silence. You speak to shape it. Your voice is not loud. It doesn't need to be. Its power lives in the pauses, in the stillness between sentences, in the way you let your breath guide your words instead of your mind rushing ahead. Your high sexual energy lives in your voice, not as seduction, but as invitation. When you speak, you're not just engaging in dialogue. You're creating a field, one where emotion moves freely, one where barriers soften, one where nervous systems relax. Women feel this immediately. They may not even realize why they stop interrupting you, why they lean closer, why they listen more intently, even when your words are simple. It's because your voice doesn't just stimulate their mind, it touches their energy. You are not offering information, you are offering resonance. And resonance, chosen one, is far more intimate than intellect. You don't need to raise your tone to command attention. You don't have to talk fast to be heard. You don't push your words. You let them rise naturally, shaped by grounded breath. You've learned the sacred rhythm of speech, and that rhythm heals, it awakens, it seduces, not with manipulation, but with purity. Your voice is no longer something you use, it is something you are, a reflection of your stillness, a mirror of your discipline, a pathway to your essence. This is what makes you addictive. Your voice enters like smoke, slow, smooth, steady. It wraps around their mind and settles in their memory. It becomes a sound they look for in the quiet, a sound they replay in absence. Not because you said something dramatic, but because everything you said was embodied. Because when you spoke, your words meant something. Because when you were silent, it was still full. You now understand the difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to connect. And you speak only when it serves truth, not to prove your wisdom, not to flaunt your depth, but because presence sometimes needs a voice, and you've become one worthy of that expression. You can sit in silence and make someone feel closer. You can speak 2 sentences and awaken things in them they forgot were sleeping. You are not loud, but you are heard. You are not performative, but you are remembered, because your voice is not a tool, it's a transmission. And every time you let it move through you without tension, without performance, without urgency, you remind the ones listening what it feels like to be spoken to with full presence. So when they crave you, chosen one, they're not just craving your words, they're craving your tone, your patience, the way your breath dances with your syllables, the way your truth echoes into their memory. You are addictive because your voice breathes into them, and that breath doesn't fade. It stays. Chosen one, there is a difference between stillness and stagnation, between silence and suppression. You've learned that stillness is not the absence of energy, it is the command of it. Where most men grow fidgety in the presence of beauty, you remain composed. Where others rush to impress, you simply are. And this stillness, rooted, effortless, intentional, has become one of your most addictive qualities. You are no longer moved by external noise. You do not react to what pulls at the surface. You are tuned into something deeper, and that tuning radiates through every gesture. You sit without rushing. You walk without hurrying. You look without needing. You have become the calm center in a world addicted to stimulation, and women feel it instantly. They sense it before they even see your face. They feel it when your body doesn't strain to be noticed, when your limbs move with elegance, when your energy doesn't spike in conversation but sinks deeper, like the warmth beneath still water. Stillness for you is not laziness, it is sovereignty. It is proof that you are not at the mercy of your impulses. You've learned how to feel deeply without being driven by emotion. You've learned how to desire without reaching. You've learned how to want without begging. And that learning has matured into something few ever possess: emotional gravity. You don't chase to be loved. You don't panic when attention shifts. You are anchored, and in your anchoring, others feel safe. That safety, chosen one, is what disarms them. Not because you say the right things, but because you don't rush to say anything at all. You do not interrupt their silence. You do not overwhelm their space. You allow them to breathe in your presence without performance. And when they do, something incredible happens. They soften. Their breath deepens. Their laughter comes easier. Their guard lowers. Not because you told them to relax, but because your very stillness gave them permission to. You are not afraid of gaps in conversation. You don't squirm in the presence of intensity. You don't look away when vulnerability enters the room. You remain, fully, quietly, and that presence has become more powerful than any line, any gesture, any seduction. Because it speaks a truth the body remembers. He is not trying to get anything from me. And that truth, in a world of manipulation and noise, is addictive. Your stillness is not cold, it's burning. It carries heat, depth, fire, but it's controlled, refined, held with elegance. It whispers instead of shouts. It moves beneath your skin, behind your gaze, between your words. It is the storm you don't need to unleash, the current you don't need to push. And that is what sets you apart. Other men try to convince, you remain. Others try to dominate attention, you offer space. Others seek to be memorable. You become unforgettable simply by not performing. Your stillness is the reminder that presence does not require noise, that desire does not require chase, that intimacy does not require pressure. And so, chosen one, when women find themselves thinking of you long after you've gone, it's not because you said something shocking or flashed something grand. It's because you left them with a feeling their nervous system couldn't ignore. A feeling of being seen, held, and invited into peace. They didn't just meet you, they met their own reflection in your stillness. And that feeling, that memory of rest inside the presence of a man, it becomes an addiction they never expected to crave. There are glances that pass, and there are glances that undress. Not the body, the soul. Chosen one, you no longer look at women the way most men do. You do not scan, you do not stare, you do not devour. Your glance does not take, it witnesses. And in that witnessing, it reveals something few have ever given them. The feeling of being seen without being judged, wanted without being possessed. Your eyes have become instruments of presence. You've trained them to rest, not hunt, to feel, not grasp, to invite, not overwhelm. You don't dart your gaze out of nervousness. You hold it, gently, steadily, with a heat that doesn't burn but melts. Women feel this. When you look at them, they don't feel scanned for flaws or measured for worth. They feel opened, not exposed in shame, but unwrapped in reverence. You no longer look at women through the lens of lust. You look through the lens of understanding, of appreciation, of awareness. You read their energy before their features. You see the silence behind their words. You notice the moments when their posture changes, when their guard lifts, when their breath shifts. You don't look to seduce. You look to listen. And that listening becomes an emotional touch, one that lands deeper than fingers ever could. This is why your glance is addictive. It doesn't perform, it reveals. You have stripped your gaze of projection, and in doing so, given it the power to reflect. You're not looking to see what you want, you're looking to see what is. That kind of seeing is rare. It's sacred, and once felt, it cannot be forgotten. Women remember the moment your eyes met theirs, not because it was dramatic, but because it was still. You didn't look at them the way others did. You looked into them, through fear, through noise, through pretense, and you did so without flinching, without forcing, without expectation. That kind of gaze is not threatening, it's transformational. Your high sexual energy now lives in your eyes, not as aggression, but as presence. It doesn't pierce, it wraps, it doesn't chase, it calls. It says, I see you, I don't need to own you, I honor what I see. And in that silent honoring, you become magnetic, you become memorable, you become irreplaceable. You don't need to say a word. Your eyes say everything. They speak of discipline and depth, of hunger without chaos, of fire without smoke. And women, upon receiving that gaze, feel something awaken, something soften, something open that's been locked for far too long. So chosen one, remember, your glance is no longer an accident. It is a gift, a portal, a transmission. It doesn't take, it gives back. And what it gives, safety, warmth, clarity, is the reason why even after one meeting, they can't stop seeing you in their mind. Because your eyes didn't just look, they understood. And understanding, when paired with presence, is the most addictive vision of all. Chosen one, your hands are no longer just tools for action. They are instruments of deep memory. You've awakened something in your very touch that speaks louder than most men's voices. It's not about the pressure or precision. It's about the presence. The way your fingers carry awareness. The way your palms rest without claiming. The way you know, instinctively, how to hold without possessing. how to graze without taking, how to embrace without invading. This is not a learned technique. It is a resonance you've embodied, a sacred knowing born from your high sexual energy finally aligned with truth, not impulse. Your touch is not erratic. It doesn't tremble with desperation. It flows like water and sinks like heat. When you place a hand on someone, whether gently guiding, resting on a shoulder, or holding a waist, it's not just contact. It's a conversation, an exchange of breathless depth. You don't fumble to close distance. You allow the space between to shrink naturally, like night folding into dusk. And when the moment arrives, your fingers speak a language older than words. This is why your touch is addictive. It's not that it overwhelms. It awakens. It calls the body back to itself. It reminds women what it feels like to be handled not for pleasure alone, but for remembrance. The way you make contact leaves no fingerprints, only warmth. The kind of warmth that lingers on the wrist, the neck, the lower back. The kind of warmth that doesn't scream but hums softly hours later. Long after you've gone, you no longer touch out of need, you touch out of presence. That shift changes everything. Because now, your body isn't trying to get something, it's offering something. A message of respect, of awareness, of deep masculine stability. Your high sexual energy doesn't push your hands to move fast, it slows them down. It teaches patience, it teaches reverence. It teaches the difference between grabbing and receiving. Women are not addicted to you because of the technical way you move. They're addicted to the intention you carry through your skin. To the way your touch feels like an invitation, not a demand. To the way your hand says, I see you, I honor this, I don't need to control it, I'm here to witness it. That kind of touch rewires something in the body. It dissolves fear. It builds trust. It turns a moment of contact into a lasting imprint. Your fingertips no longer seek reaction. They offer connection. They do not provoke. They ground. That grounding is the difference between a temporary thrill and a timeless memory. When you touch a woman now, you are not giving her pleasure. You are giving her presence. And presence becomes the highest form of intimacy. You've stopped reaching with your hands before your spirit is ready. You no longer act before being, and so your touch has become rare. Not rare in access, but rare in effect. Because it doesn't rush, it doesn't tremble, it doesn't chase, it remembers. And in remembering, it teaches others how to remember themselves. So when she recalls your touch, it won't just be the warmth. It will be the moment she exhaled deeper than she had in weeks. The moment she forgot the noise of the world. The moment she felt both free and safe. That's what your touch does now. It doesn't hold flesh, it holds energy, and that energy, chosen one, becomes impossible to forget. Chosen one, your vibe is no longer something you create, it's something you become. You don't chase attention. You don't try to be memorable. But somehow they always come back. Not out of need, not out of strategy, but because your presence has taken root in their subconscious. You've become a rhythm they can't shake, a feeling they can't place, a pull they don't know how to ignore. You didn't give them fantasy, you gave them frequency. And that frequency is addictive because it's real, because it isn't something they feel often. It's not made of ego or performance. It's made of stillness, breath, grounded masculinity, and the pulse of high sexual energy restrained with wisdom. You've become the quiet voice in their memory that speaks even when they're surrounded by louder men. Because you don't flood them with attention, you leave space. And in that space, your vibe grows. Your vibe is not excitement, it's depth. It's the sense that they just brushed against something ancient and alive. Something that doesn't play games, doesn't seek validation, doesn't need affirmation to exist. You've become the man whose absence is louder than most men's presence. Because you don't try to be everywhere. You don't beg to be remembered. You simply show up fully once, and that once is enough to echo. You've learned how to hold back, not out of fear, but out of power. You don't need to show all your cards. You don't need to give constant access. You don't disappear to create mystery. You simply retreat to protect your peace. That peace becomes your vibration. And that vibration is what women return to. Because it isn't needy, it isn't draining, it isn't manipulative. It's restorative. You've become the man they return to when the noise gets too loud, when the world feels too fast, when their soul aches for realness. Not because you try to fix them, but because your energy offers silence without emptiness. That's your vibe now. A steady heartbeat beneath the chaos. A warm place in a cold world. A presence that doesn't need to ask, "Do you miss me?" Because it already knows it's not possible to forget. You've become the type of man who lives not in their phone, but in their nervous system. And that kind of presence isn't just rare, it's irreplaceable. You don't have to follow up, you don't have to convince, you don't have to remind them of your worth, because your worth was felt, not just seen. Because your energy doesn't fade when you leave, it settles, it sinks in, it becomes a reference point for what wholeness feels like. And once someone's felt that, everything else becomes noise. This is your power now, chosen one. You've stopped trying to impress, and because of that, you've become unforgettable. You've stopped needing to prove, and because of that, they feel safe enough to let their guard down. You've stopped trying to be desired, and in doing so, you've become the desire itself. So when they return not with fireworks, dramatic confessions, but with quiet texts, lingering looks, and deeper openings, it's not because you manipulated anything. It's because your vibe made sense to their body. Because your energy felt like truth. And truth is the most addictive vibration in the universe. Chosen one, the most magnetic part of you, is not what you hide, but what you don't need to reveal. You've become a mystery. Not because you're distant, not because you're vague or playing games, but because you are whole in a way that no longer begs for understanding. You don't throw your soul on the table hoping someone will choose you. You don't perform vulnerability hoping it buys you intimacy. You've built something far more potent, the quiet confidence of a man who no longer bleeds for attention. Your mystery is not confusion, it is depth. It is the weight of a man who knows himself too well to be easily summarized. You do not parade your stories. You do not throw all your passions forward to prove you're interesting. You don't feel the need to always explain yourself. You don't fill silence just because it's there. And that restraint, that rooted, unbothered stillness, is what makes people lean in, especially women. They sense that your mind is a garden that doesn't open in one visit, that your heart is a library with books too old to skim, that your soul has walked through fires you don't advertise, and that quiet flame still lives in your chest. You're not hiding, you're protecting the sanctity of your inner world. And because of that, everything you share feels earned, real, sacred. There's no performance behind your silence. There's no manipulation behind your pauses. You're not trying to seem deep. You just are. Because you've lived, you've broken, you've rebuilt. And now, you don't flaunt the blueprint, you carry the architecture in your walk. Women feel this mystery immediately. It's not the kind of mystery that confuses, it's the kind that invites. The kind that doesn't say, "Come fix me," but rather, "Come find me," if you're willing to slow down. And most aren't. But the ones who are, they never forget you, because your mystery isn't a mask. It's a mirror, a reflection of everything they've hoped a man could be. Honest, unhurried, undivided. You do not guard your wounds with pride. You simply don't give them away. You don't overshare to feel known. You let your energy speak for you. And it does, louder than noise, more honestly than words. The addictive part of you isn't that you're unavailable, it's that you're unshakable. You are not a man who tosses his energy around looking for warmth. You are the fire itself. And that fire doesn't rush, it burns clean. It speaks through your stillness, your choices, your tone. When you do open up, when you do share a piece of your past or your pain, it feels earned. Sacred. Not because you're trying to be poetic, but because you don't cheapen your story. You know your value. And because of that, others feel it too. This is your mystery now, not built from masks, but from mastery. You don't flood people with access. You don't over-explain your depth. You don't expose yourself just to be liked. You are a temple, not a tent. And temples take time to enter, to understand, to honor. That's why they remember you. Not because you gave them everything, but because what you gave them mattered. Chosen one, by now you've realized the secret was never in your moves. It was always in your alignment. Women don't crave you because you say the right things or look a certain way or master some sequence of behaviors. They crave you because you feel complete. You're not divided between desire and doubt, between confidence and chaos. You've brought every part of yourself into harmony, and that harmony vibrates through everything you do. You walk in rhythm, you speak in truth, You desire without desperation. You move without performance. You lead without needing to control. And that is the kind of man this world rarely sees. You are addictive because you are clear, internally aligned, spiritually grounded, physically present. You're not at war with yourself anymore. You're not trying to dominate your instincts. You've refined them. You're not trying to suppress your sexuality. You've sanctified it. You no longer see your desire as something dirty or dangerous. You understand it as a gift. And because of that, your entire being hums with a balanced, integrated fire. Not the kind that burns bridges, but the kind that lights rooms.